Qingyan sect, the main hall. The lingering echoes of 9 bell tolls reverberated among the carved beams and painted pillars, heavy and oppressive. Sect leader Gu Changfeng sat upright on the main seat, his face ashen, his gaze as sharp as a blade sweeping across the hall. On both sides below him, the law enforcement elder, the merit transmission elder, the discipline elder. All the core high-ranking officials of the Qingyan sect were present, each with a solemn expression, their gazes burning, the combined pressure making the air seem to solidify. And I, bearing immeasurable merit, a newly appointed elder who had been specially invited to join the sect only a year ago, was now the center of the storm. Elder Lin. Gu Changfeng's voice broke the silence, carrying an undeniable authority. Do you admit your guilt? I sat upright in the elder's seat, gently tapping my fingers on the armrest, my expression calm, neither sad nor happy. Oh, what guilt is there to admit? Seeing my nonchalant demeanor, Gu Changfeng's face darkened. You stole the Red Flame's sovereign's treasure, the 9 Revolutions Red Yang ginseng. The sovereign is furious and will trace the matter here. Will you not confess and submit to the law? The hall exploded instantly. What? It's Elder Lin. How is that possible? He bears golden light of merit. You can know a person's face, but not their heart. For the sake of the sect, Elder Lin, confess. The discussions and exclamations of the disciples and elders quickly evolved into a unified wave of sound, like an invisible giant hand, trying to completely suppress me. The Red Flame Sovereign was one of the few sovereigns in the world, with overwhelming power and a violent temperament, his methods of tormenting enemies being infamous. He was indeed famous, but that was the past. Since the human emperor banner had completely transformed and nourished me, my cultivation had reached an immeasurable realm. The mere red flame was no longer worth fearing. Therefore, I was now full of confidence, and my calm and indifferent demeanor was not feigned. I really wanted to see what tricks Gu Changfeng was up to. Looking at Gu Changfeng's eagerness to convict me, a faint smile appeared at the corner of my mouth. The Red Flame Sovereign's wrath is something our Qingyun sect cannot bear. It concerns thousands of years of foundation, the lives of tens of thousands of disciples. Gu Changfeng suddenly stood up, his sleeves fluttering angrily. Quickly go and confess to the sovereign. Perhaps you can save your life and also save the sect from annihilation. I slightly raised my eyelids, my tone calm. What if I don't confess? Gu Changfeng choked, then sternly said, The evidence is irrefutable. You are the one who stole the precious medicine and plunged the sect into a desperate situation. Elder Lin, how can you, a man of merit, be so unreasonable? Witnesses and evidence. I chuckled softly, watching countless disciples below roar, their faces red and necks thick, demanding that I confess. As the wave of sound reached its peak, I finally moved. No excuses, no anger. I leisurely took out a recording stone. With a light tap of my fingertip, spiritual power flowed into it. A light screen projected in the center of the hall. The image was clear. Last night in the quiet chamber, righteous and dignified Gu Changfeng, thump, knelt down before me, tears streaming down his face. Elder, for the sake of our shared sect and the lives of thousands of disciples, please take the blame for Nyener. You possess boundless merit, are compassionate and benevolent. Only you can move the Supreme Being and avert this calamity. I beg Elder to have mercy. In the recording, Gu Changfeng kowtowed incessantly, each sound filled with anguish. The clear words echoed in the silent hall. The light screen went dark. The hall fell into a deathly silence where even a needle drop could be heard. On the faces of all the elders and disciples, the anger, coercion, and righteous indignation instantly froze, shattered, and transformed into confusion and horror. Their gazes darted back and forth between the place where the light screen had disappeared and Gu Changfeng's pale, twisted face. The air seemed to solidify into ice. This was a scene from last night, when Gu Changfeng came to beg me to take the blame, when he wept bitter tears and spoke humbly. Unfortunately, I am no saintly mother. I flatly refused. I never expected that today he would tear off his mask and directly frame me. Fortunately, the habits I developed during my past life as a demonic cultivator, constantly keeping a recording stone running to record my surroundings, had prepared me. The demon race. That was a place where every step was filled with danger. Recording stones were tools for saving lives and counterattacking. I glanced around, my gaze calmly sweeping across every stunned face, finally landing on the ashen-faced Gu Changfeng, and mocked. Sect leader, what other crimes do you want me to confess to? Gu Changfeng, exposed in front of everyone, turned bright red for a moment, but true to his position as sect leader, he quickly recovered. He never expected that I, this virtuous and meritorious cultivator, would have such a habit. His lips trembled, and he was momentarily speechless. Before Gu Changfeng could speak, the sect leader's wife beside him suddenly pointed at me and shrieked. So, what if Niner did it? As an elder of the sect, why can't you take the blame for him? Where's your kindness and mercy? Saving one life is better than building a 7-tiered pagoda. What's so bad about taking the blame? She turned to the handsome, radiant young man below, Gu Fengyan, and screamed, Niner is a genius the sect has rarely seen in a century. He concerns the revival of the sect. Are you really so heartless as to watch him be tormented to death by the Supreme Being? My gaze fell on Gu Fengyan's smug face, and my icy words subverted everyone's impression of me. Of course I am heartless, why wouldn't I be? The sect? What does it have to do with me? Whether he lives or dies, what does it have to do with me? If you steal treasure, you bear the consequences. Elder Lin, even if there are extenuating circumstances. A core disciple who is usually quite respectful towards me, pointed at me, his face flushed, his voice filled with a distorted sense of justice. But things have already come to this. The Supreme Being only recognizes the person who stole the medicine. You possess merit and virtue and a benevolent heart. Are you really so heartless as to watch the sect bleed into a river? Sacrificing for the sect is your merit, your honor. How can you be so selfish and refuse to save us? I remember this core disciple. He would come in my cave every day to greet me, and I would give him some little trinkets. That's right, refusing to save us. You don't deserve to possess golden light of merit. Elder Lin, you've disappointed us so much. The sect nurtured you. How can you be so ungrateful? If you don't confess, you're disregarding the lives of the entire sect. You are the greatest villain. Elder Lin, I beg you, confess. Save us. You have accumulated deep merit. You can't just stand by and watch us die. Accusations, curses, and morally charged roars surged like a tide. Oh, so deep merit has become a shackle used to impose false charges? Is this what they call the righteous path? How laughable. Benevolence and righteousness. I listened to the clamor filling the hall, watching the faces twisted by righteousness. Gu Changfeng watched this scene, a hint of triumph flashing in his eyes. He was certain that I, the nice guy, wouldn't be able to withstand the righteousness he wielded. I gently shook my head, sneering, the evidence is right before your eyes, and you still insist I'm guilty. Come to think of it, just days ago, Gu Fengyan was openly boasting about his achievements in stealing the treasure within the sect. How could you not know who the real culprit is? So, you just want me to take the blame. To condemn someone, you need only the desire. My gaze swept over Gu Changfeng and his wife, cold and penetrating. That precious medicine from the Scarlet Flame. You've already refined it into pills and swallowed them. Haven't you? No wonder you can't produce it. You didn't want to share the enjoyment, but when it comes to bearing the responsibility, you want me to do it. Heh, what a Qingyan sect, you truly make me. Look at you in a new light. Smiling, I slowly walked towards Gu Fengyan. He felt my approach, still wearing a trace of arrogance on his face. I reached out and gently stroked the top of his head, like an elder caring for a junior. Son of the sect leader, unparalleled talent, 1 in 100 years. He felt the warmth of my palm and thought my attitude was softening, a smile even curving his lips. He nodded. I smiled back at him, my smile as gentle as before. The next moment, my 5 fingers tightened. Gu Fengnian's body exploded like a burst berry, instantly turning into a cloud of blood mist. His horrified soul screamed, trying to escape, but I casually pinched it, obliterating it completely. Blood mist filled the air. I looked at Gu Changfeng, whose eyes were bloodshot and filled with rage, and said in a gentle tone, "So, your son is dead now, and you still want me to take the blame for him? Monster, how dare you kill my grandson?" An aged roar filled with endless rage, like a thunderclap from the 9 heavens, suddenly echoed from the forbidden area of the Qingyun sect's back mountain. 3 terrifying auras soared into the sky, stirring up the wind and clouds. The entire main hall was shaking violently, as if it couldn't bear the pressure. 3 figures appeared above the hall in an instant. The leader was white-haired and wizened, but his eyes were as bright as cold stars. The supreme grand elder of the Qingyun sect, the most senior member. Behind him were 2 others, one tall and one short, their auras equally unfathomable, both supreme elders who had been in seclusion for years. The supreme grand elder's gaze was like lightning, fixed on me, his voice like 10,000 years of cold ice. What kind of fiend dares to commit murder in my Qingyun sect, slaughtering the sect leader's bloodline? Gu Changfeng grabbed at this as a lifeline, crying out in grief, "Ancestor, this fiend Lin Fan murdered Fengnian, trying to destroy our sect. Please, Ancestor, take action to kill this fiend, avenge Fengnian, and protect our sect's foundation." "Umph." The supreme grand elder snorted coldly, his gaze sweeping over the silent disciples and elders below, finally landing on me, filled with scrutiny and overwhelming killing intent. What a virtuous elder Lin! What a ruthless method! Today, this old man will act on behalf of heaven and grind this demon in virtuous clothing to ashes. His withered hand raised, and a vast spiritual power enough to shake mountains began to gather, and under his guidance, the protective array of the sect shone brightly, its power more than 10 times stronger than before. Act on behalf of heaven. Facing the terrifying pressure of the 3 old ancestors and the power of the protective array, I showed no fear, instead gently smiling. Your Qingyun sect, from top to bottom, is riddled with corruption and filled with hypocrisy. I was merely helping you clean house. Cleaning up the sect? Arrogant. Another tall supreme elder roared. Today, I will let you, this madman, see the true foundation of the Qingyun sect. 10,000 spirits, demon-slaying grand array, activate. As his voice fell, the 3 old ancestors simultaneously performed hand seals, pouring vast spiritual power into the array core. The entire Qingyun sect's ley lines rumbled, and countless pillars of light shot into the sky, intertwining into a giant net covering the heavens and earth, emitting a destructive aura that enveloped me. That power was far from comparable to when Gu Changfeng and others presided over it. 10,000 spirits, demon-slaying grand array, created specifically for slaying demons. I am very familiar with it. Back when I was a demonic cultivator, I don't know how many times I encountered it, and each time it was quite troublesome. But now, my body emitted a great burst of golden light of merit, dazzling and radiant, as righteous as could be. As the array activated, a vast power converged, and the 3 old ancestors and all the elders and disciples desperately vied for control. But none of them could snatch it from me. His face instantly turned ashen, and a chill shot from the soles of his feet to the crown of his head. How is this possible? The power of merit can actually reverse control, the demon-slaying grand array. The supreme grand elder exclaimed, his eyes filled with disbelief. Nothing is impossible. My voice was calm, but it clearly entered everyone's ears. Where merit goes, all laws are ineffective. This array of yours is just a joke to me. With a thought, the The vast power of the grand array, assimilated by the golden light of merit, not only did not attack me, but instead, like a docile river, all converged around me, causing the pressure I emitted to instantly soar, like a deity descending. Now it's my turn. I raised my hand and gently slapped down towards the three horrified old ancestors. There was no earth-shattering momentum, only an invisible, irresistible force, like the sky falling. Puff, puff, puff. The three old ancestors, who were like gods in the eyes of the Qingyun sect disciples, didn't even manage to let out a scream before their physical bodies instantly disintegrated, turning into three balls of bloody mist. Three terrified souls were forcibly extracted, and like Guchang foam before them, were tightly entangled by the power of the human sovereign banner and dragged into that eternal evil realm. No! Guchang foam let out a desperate roar. His last reliance was so vulnerable in front of this elder Lin. Before he could react, I raised my hand and slapped down. Gu Changfeng's physical body instantly disintegrated, and his soul left his body. The power of the human sovereign banner spread out silently, turning into invisible chains that tightly entangled his soul. No, he struggled in terror, but like a fly caught in a spider web, it was all in vain. He could only watch helplessly as he was dragged into the human sovereign banner, that realm of evil, where countless ghosts howled. Waiting for him was eternal torment. Inside the human sovereign banner, there are two realms, good and evil. The evil realm is like the 18 levels of hell, where countless ghosts devour the heart. The good realm is like a blessed land of immortals, comfortable and pleasant. Which realm you enter? It all depends on my mood. Unfortunately, I don't like a single one of the tens of thousands of people in the Qingyun sect. I looked at the remaining disciples and elders below, all of whom were trembling at this moment. Holding the human sovereign banner, every second that passed, one person fell. I turned my head, smiled, revealing a row of white teeth, and said, "Run quickly, or you'll suffer eternal torment if I catch you." Hith. Then, I casually set up a super grand array, enveloping the entire Qingyun sect. At this moment, I was no longer the virtuous and respected elder of merit in the hearts of those disciples, but rather a thorough and utter devil. Just as I was preparing to continue adding bricks and tiles to my myriad souls banner enterprise, an inner disciple, hiding somewhere, suddenly stood out, his voice loud and clear, as if using a sound amplification magic tool. "Stop!" My gaze turned slightly, landing on this small golden core cultivator with a hint of curiosity. Who gave him the courage? "I am Prince Chu Yin of the Chu Kingdom." He tried to remain calm and said loudly, "Elder Lin, your family is now in our hands. If you continue to be stubborn, tomorrow will be their day of death." My movements paused, and I slowly turned my head, my voice low and hoarse. "You're saying?" "That's true. Absolutely." Chu Yin, seeing me stop, became even more confident. "Surrender immediately, or else." I chuckled, a hint of indescribable excitement in my laughter. Good. This is wonderful. Finally found this pair of closest relatives. Back then, they dug out my immortal bones to forge artifacts, extracted my essence and blood to refine elixirs, claiming with every word that genuine bloodline was the ultimate treasure. I suffered endless torment, barely escaped, and entered the demonic path. After achieving fame, I searched for them relentlessly, but to no avail. The floodgates of memory crashed open, the long-sealed pain gnawing at my heart like venomous snakes. A cold altar, piercingly cold winds. My limbs were chained, rendering me immobile. Father held a poisoned bone knife, his face filled with an almost pious fanaticism, carving open my back with each slice. The excruciating pain clouded my vision, every breath tugging at the lacerated wounds. Mother watched indifferently from the side, occasionally reminding, "Be careful. Don't damage the foundation of the immortal bones. That's the valuable treasure." When that glowing spinal bone was forcefully extracted, their eyes were filled only with greed and satisfaction, as if it wasn't their own son's bone, but a peerless treasure. That bone-deep pain, the despair of being betrayed by one's closest relatives and slaughtered like livestock, was etched into my marrow, becoming a scar in my heart that would never heal. Who would have thought, today, I'd have double the fortune? With a thought, a clone of me materialized, instantly appearing beside Chu Yin, grabbing his shoulder, lead the way. Meanwhile, my main body remained within the Qingyan sect. Seeing my clone appear, but my main body not stopping, Chu Yin anxiously shouted, "Elder, won't you stop? Don't you care about your parents' safety?" I ignored him. The clone took him thousands of miles in an instant, straight to the depths of the Chu Kingdom's imperial palace. "Where are they?" I asked, my tone calm. Entering the palace, Chu Yin seemed to regain a sense of security and wanted to manipulate me. "Elder Lin, why be in such a hurry? As long as you—" Before he could finish, the hand gripping his shoulder tightened violently, my fingernails instantly growing, piercing his skull like sharp blades. "Ah!" Chu Yin let out a shrill scream, blood pouring from his 7 orifices, his face contorted. The palace's experts were alerted, but the so-called Imperial Guards, upon approaching my clone within 10 yards, silently and instantly transformed into puffs of blood mist. Chu Yin struggled and trembled in agony, his eyes tearing apart. How dare you commit massacres in the human realm? Aren't you afraid of karmic retribution?" "Karma?" The corners of my mouth curled into a frigid smile. As a demonic cultivator, if I was timid and cautious, I would have died 1,000 deaths already. Under my torture, Chu Yin finally broke down, trembling as he pointed towards a heavily guarded, luxurious palace deep within the imperial compound. In the warm jade pavilion. I carried him, as if entering an uninhibited land, and broke into the warm jade pavilion. Inside the hall, it was as warm as spring, filled with rich spiritual energy. A middle-aged man and woman were leisurely enjoying tea. The man was dressed in splendid silk, exuding an air of calmness. The woman was adorned with jewels, well-maintained, with a rosy complexion, clearly living a life of luxury and ease. It was my pair of closest relatives. Seeing them like this, my eyes grew warm, almost bringing tears, not of emotion, but of the ultimate excitement and hatred surging within me. "Father, mother," I said, a smile blooming on my face that was extremely gentle. Even with a hint of filial piety, my voice as soft as if offering a casual greeting. "I'm here." Just one, "I'm here," caused the father's hand holding the teacup to pause slightly. He looked up, his face expressionless, and simply said, "You've come." "Yes," I said, my smile unwavering, my tone light. "It seems the two of you have been doing quite well lately." Rosy-cheeked, leisurely so, "Your son is very dissatisfied. I had resolved myself to not let you die happily. So how can you live so well? It makes your son feel very ashamed." A barely perceptible stiffness flashed across my mother's well-maintained face. My father put down his teacup and waved his hand, wearing an air of magnanimity. "Let bygones be bygones." "Bygones?" I tilted my head slightly, my smile still bright, but my eyes were icy cold. "Father, I don't like hearing that. How can we just let the past go?" I took 2 steps forward, relaxed as if strolling through my own garden. These years I've been away, I've learned a lot of good things. Like the cold heart curse from a northern frontier. I heard it's quite interesting. Keeps you conscious while freezing your heart. Once I've mastered it, I'll definitely let you, Father, experience it properly. Once isn't enough. How about 100 times? Make a round number auspicious. My gaze shifted to my mother, my tone even more gentle and considerate. "Mother, you look so radiant. I heard there's a method from foreign lands called myriad poison heart devouring that can torture people to the point of living death, but they can't actually die, and their skin stays as smooth as yours." And then there's skinning and salting, which is said to allow people to clearly feel every inch of their skin being torn away. The sound, TSK, TSK. Which one do you prefer? Tell me, Mother, and I promise, I'll make sure you too are satisfied and enjoy yourselves comfortably. Chu Yen, enduring intense pain, was bewildered by this surreal conversation. Still, he hoarsely said, the Imperial Advisor placed an instant death curse on them. No one can undo it but the Imperial Advisor. Elder Lin, surrender now. Hand over the human sovereign banner, and perhaps their lives can be spared. Instant death curse? A vicious curse that required torturous near-death experiences for 49 days to successfully inflict. Once completed, only the caster could undo it. I mused inwardly, this is a bit troublesome. It's a pity I can't torture them myself every day. Seeing my silence, Chu Yen thought he had me in his grasp. His voice held a hint of triumph. Elder Lin, what's your decision? Hand over the human sovereign banner, and your parents will be safe. I looked at him and suddenly broke into a smile. The next moment, I moved like lightning, appearing before the couple in an instant. Under their shocked gazes, I struck out with both hands simultaneously. Poof! Poof! Before they could even scream, their physical bodies disintegrated. Two terrified souls were forcibly extracted and instantly thrown into the evil realm within the human sovereign banner. I specifically conveyed to the demons inside, give these two honored guests a proper welcome. Once I reshape their bodies, I'll be sure to properly honor them. Chu Yen was completely dumbfounded, his eyes almost popping out of their sockets. You dare! I released him, letting him slump to the ground, my smile gentle. Using them to threaten me? Truly, courting death. You wanted to use my relatives to threaten me? Then I will slaughter every one of your blood relatives. Open your eyes and see clearly. I looked down at the slumped Chu Yen. This is the consequence of threatening me. My avatar stepped out and charged straight towards the heart of the palace. The Emperor Dragon Chi gathered above the palace tried to obstruct me, but I casually waved it away, and it scattered like smoke. I extended my palm, a deep vortex appearing in the center. Instantly, a gale swept through the palace. Throughout the palace, whether it was the emperor, empress, crown prince, concubines, or princes and princesses in distant fiefdoms, anyone within 5 generations of Chu Yan's bloodline was forcibly pulled by an irresistible force, appearing before me like dumplings being dropped into a pot. They looked around blankly, horrified. When they saw the dying, disfigured Chu Yen at my feet, they instantly understood. The emperor feigned composure and took the lead in kneeling. Immortal, please calm your anger. We don't know how this wretch, Chu Yen, offended your celestial countenance. Please tell us, Immortal, and the entire Chu kingdom will surely punish him severely. I said coldly, I heard that you Chu kingdom are good at kidnapping people and are also proficient in something called the instant death curse, specifically used to threaten immortals like us. The emperor was drenched in cold sweat. Hearing the words instant death curse, he knew he could not deny it, and trembled. Immortal, please understand. We were only acting under orders. We had no intention of threatening you. Is that so? My tone was calm. Unfortunately, you cast that instant death curse quite well, torturing them for 49 days. But you actually dared to use it to threaten me? Lin Uncle, I really don't like him. I gently patted Chu Yan's cheek to keep him awake. I looked up at the Chu royal family members crowded together in the sky, panic-stricken, and my voice clearly reached everyone's ears. So, all of you, just go die. As the words fell, the spell activated. In the sky above, lightning roared like angry dragons, and 10,000 swords fell like a torrential rain. In this doomsday-like moment, those royal family members caught in the storm turned their resentful eyes toward Chu Yen in my hands. No, my Chu family's century-old foundation, destroyed by your hand, you unfilial son. The emperor's beard and hair stood on end, but his angry curses were cut short as he was struck into charred ashes by a bolt of lightning. Yenner, How dare you bring such a catastrophe upon us? The Empress shrieked miserably, instantly torn to shreds by countless sword lights. Wails filled the air, a bloody rain of death. I crouched down, forcibly pried open Chu Yan's eyelids, and made him see this hellish scene, my voice as soft as a murmur. Are you satisfied with this outcome? Chu Yan's pupils were unfocused, and only meaningless babbling remained in his mouth. Wrong. I was wrong. Wrong. He was like a madman. I stood up, condensed a dark point of blood light on my fingertip, and gently touched Chu Yan's forehead. Using your blood as a guide, 5 generations up and down, your bloodline will be severed. In 7 days, the Chu royal family will no longer exist in this realm. The blood light flashed and disappeared, sinking into Chu Yan's body, transforming into an invisible curse, spreading along the bonds of blood, extending to all his connected relatives. Since you used my relatives to threaten me, then be prepared for your entire clan to die out. After I casually crushed Chu Yan to death, the clone dissipated. On the other side, I had slaughtered Qin Yun's sect down to only a handful of people. At first, they were still cursing me, saying I wouldn't die a good death. They were also condemning me, saying I was ungrateful and had a wolf's heart and a dog's lungs. But so what? I was once a demonic cultivator, and killing people like flies was commonplace. When I sealed off the entire sect and dragged the hiding rats out of the sewers one by one, their faces immediately changed. They were all terrified, kneeling and begging for mercy. Looking at this scene, I vaguely returned to the days when I was a demonic cultivator. That's right. Hit. I am so powerful now. Why did they dare disrespect me, dare to wantonly humiliate me? I used to be so weak. Why did everyone fear me like a tiger? Ultimately, it's the word kindness. Kind people are bullied, good horses are ridden. The ancients did not deceive me. The sect's formation let out a strained tremor. I thought slightly, held the human emperor banner, and stepped out, my figure already appearing outside the Qin Yun sect's mountain gate. Before me, supreme red flame hung in the air, his body surrounded by raging flames, like a lava cascade, the terrifying pressure scorching away the clouds within 100 miles, the air twisting and steaming. His gaze swept across the already scorched earth and ruins of the Azure Cloud sect, the bloody aura soaring into the sky, a hint of suspicion and uncertainty flashing in his eyes. But when his eyes locked onto the human emperor banner in my hand, radiating a deep, secluded light and faintly carrying the sound of 10,000 souls wailing, greed instantly overwhelmed everything. Lin Fan. The Crimson Flame Supreme's voice was like rolling thunder, shaking the earth slightly. Where is this venerable's 9 revolution Crimson Sun Ginseng? My expression was calm, as if I had only handled a trivial matter, and said indifferently, "The person who stole your treasure medicine, I've already killed for you." As I spoke, I casually tossed, and 2 heads cut through the air, rolling at the feet of the Crimson Flame Supreme. It was precisely the Gu Changfeng couple's heads, eyes still wide with unclosed eyes, their faces still frozen with extreme fear. His father's, mother's heads are here. My tone was bland and unwavering. Perhaps. Can we let it go? The Crimson Flame Supreme's gaze swept across the 2 heads, confirming that they were indeed correct. But not only did he not calm his anger, but the flames of greed in his eyes burned even more fiercely. He stared intently at the human emperor banner in my hand, the aura emitted by the banner making his soul tremble and yearn. This was definitely a treasure far surpassing the 9 revolution Crimson Sun Ginseng. Humph! The Crimson Flame Supreme snorted coldly, the flames around him tumbling even more violently. You think you can compensate this venerable's treasure with just 2 heads? Dream on. He took a step forward, the void seeming to burn beneath his feet, his voice carrying an undeniable domineering air. And more. Offer up the human emperor banner in your hand. This venerable might consider that you have merit in killing the thief, spare you your life, and not hold the past against you. Oh, my eyebrows slightly arched, a look of a smile that wasn't a smile appearing on my face. What if I don't hand it over? What if? The Crimson Flame Supreme grinned hideously, the flames transforming into a giant hand covering the sky, pointing at me from afar. This venerable will say it again. Hand over the human emperor banner. Otherwise, today, I will make you and this Azure Cloud sect turn to ashes together. I chuckled softly, the laughter carrying a hint of icy mockery. You're truly stubborn. You don't walk the path to heaven, but you come to hell of your own accord. Before the words could fade, I took a step forward. This step seemed to shatter the distance of space. The Crimson Flame Supreme only felt a blur before his eyes. The figure that was still far away a moment ago had already appeared before him, as if a ghost, within arm's reach. He could even clearly see the icy, indifferent look in the other party's eyes, as if looking at a dead object. What? The Crimson Flame Supreme was shocked, and his pupils shrank sharply. He never expected the other party's speed to be so terrifying. Even he, a Supreme, couldn't react in time. In a hurry, he roared, the flames around his body instantly compressed to the extreme, transforming into a substantial flame shield blocking him. And at the same time, he threw a punch. On the fist, condensed a terrifying high temperature that could burn mountains and boil seas. The space was scorched and distorted. Petty tricks. Facing this attack from a Supreme that was enough to change mountains and rivers, I simply extended a finger and gently pointed out. There was no radiance or pressure on the fingertip, as if it was just a casual point, with a soft sound like a hot knife cutting through butter. The flame shield that condensed the Crimson Flame Supreme's vast divine power was easily pierced like paper. Then, the flame fist that could burn the sky and boil the sea, at the instant it touched the fingertip, was as if it had met its nemesis. The violent energy silently annihilated and dissipated. Impossible. The Crimson Flame Supreme exclaimed in horror, a storm surging in his heart. His full-force attack was actually resolved so easily by the other party. He dared not hold back in the slightest, roaring repeatedly, his hands rapidly forming hand seals. In an instant, the sky transformed into a sea of fire. 10,000 Zhang fire dragons, condensed from pure solar true fire, roared out, their dragon roars shaking the sky, carrying the aura of destroying everything and strangling towards me from all directions. At the same time, he opened his mouth and spat out a scarlet gold fire line condensed to the extreme, like a world-destroying spear, directly piercing my brow. This was his innate divine ability, burning the heavens and boiling the seas and scarlet sun divine light. Facing this earth-shattering offensive, I remained calm. My left hand was behind my back, and my right hand held the human emperor banner, simply gently waving it left and right. As the banner danced, a faint, grayish-black halo, as if condensed from endless wronged souls, spread out. The 9 roaring solar true fire dragons crashed into the halo, like mud oxen entering the sea. Not even creating a ripple, they silently dissipated. The scarlet sun divine light that was enough to penetrate stars shot into the halo, also like ice and snow melting, instantly losing all its power. Puff! His divine ability was forcibly broken. The Crimson Flame Supreme was as if struck by a heavy blow, suddenly spitting out a mouthful of essence, blood burning with flames, his aura instantly wilting. His eyes were filled with unbelievable horror and fear. He finally understood that the strength of this seemingly young cultivator had already reached a terrifying realm that he could not imagine. Fellow Taoist, please wait. Crimson Flame Supreme no longer possessed even a trace of supreme dignity, his face filled only with terror. He retreated 10,000 feet with a sudden burst of speed, his voice filled with unprecedented panic. Misunderstanding. A huge misunderstanding. This humble one was blind. The matter of the precious medicine is dropped. This humble one will retreat immediately and never set foot here again. I beg you, fellow Taoist, to be merciful. At this moment, he only wanted to escape this place. What precious medicine, what human emperor banner. None of it was as important as his life. Misunderstanding. I looked at his wretched appearance, a cold, piercing arc curving at the corner of my mouth, my eyes without the slightest ripple. I said you should die, and today you shall die. Words spoken cannot be taken back. As the words fell, I gently shook the human emperor banner in my hand. A low, grand humming sound echoed through heaven and earth like a horn from the depths of the nine hells. In an instant, the wind and clouds changed. The originally clear sky was instantly enveloped by endless dark clouds. The wind howled furiously, ghosts cried, and spirits wailed. Countless hideous, twisted, resentful, and aggrieved souls surged out of the human emperor banner like a flood from a breached dam. They gathered and coalesced, forming a gigantic ghost claw that blotted out the sky and the heavens. This ghost claw was as black as ink, its nails as sharp as blades, its surface flowing with viscous, blood-like resentment and karma, emitting a terrifying aura that devoured all life and froze souls. The moment it appeared, the entire world seemed to plunge into eternal darkness and despair. Crimson Flame Supreme looked at the ghost claw that covered the sky and sensed the terrifying aura that made his soul tremble. The color drained from his face, leaving only boundless despair. No, you can't kill me. I'm a Supreme. He let out an extremely shrill roar, burning his origin with all his might, his body erupting with unprecedentedly intense divine flames, attempting to make a final struggle. However, in front of that ghost claw, which contained boundless resentment, karma, and the supreme power of the human emperor banner itself, all his resistance seemed so pale and powerless. The sky-covering ghost claw fell silently. There was no earth-shattering explosion, no world-destroying impact, only a short, extremely brief puff sound as if a soul was being crushed. Crimson Flame Supreme's figure, along with the supreme divine flames that were enough to burn mountains and boil seas, were instantly devoured and annihilated by the giant ghost claw like a candle flame thrown into a black hole. Not even a speck of ash remained. In heaven and earth, the wind still howled, the myriad souls still wailed. The sky-covering ghost claw slowly dissipated, transforming back into countless wronged souls, like tired birds returning to their nests, silently disappearing into the human emperor banner, which hung quietly, emitting a dim light. On the surface of the banner, a faint red flame Wenlu seemed to flash and disappear. I stood in the void, holding the human emperor banner in my hand. Beneath my feet was the Qingyun sect, now in ruins, and in front of me were the residual spatial ripples that were slowly dissipating from the place where Crimson Flame Supreme had been annihilated. Heaven and earth were silent. Only the more shrill wailing of the myriad souls, faintly coming from within the human emperor banner, seemed to announce the complete fall of the Supreme. Afterwards, I even found Crimson Flame Supreme's sect, burning it to the ground and sealing it with a formation. Since I annihilated the entire Qingyun sect, the royal family of the Chu Kingdom, and Crimson Flame Supreme's entire family, the world called me the family extermination madman. Because of my evil, everyone feared me like a tiger. Yet also because my human emperor banner represents goodness, occasionally some short-sighted people would label me as easy to bully. I once wanted to be a good person, but moral blackmail, threats against my loved ones, and even a mere glance at you would lead them to think you were easy to bully and want to snatch your possessions, made me give up that idea. So, being a bad person is pretty good.